What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys, looking ahead to the Aston Villa game this weekend. With the amount of injuries and suspensions, Ange Postecoglou has got a few selection headaches to make. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at 4 different lineups that we could possibly play. We can mix and match between the lineups as well. Obviously, the sticking points are in defence, midfield, and potentially the front line as well. But what we do know for sure is Heung-min Son is going to be playing the number 9 position, and Vicario is going to be in goal. Udogie and Porro will be left and right back. But apart from that, everything is a bit up in the air, potentially. There are more certainties than not. But let's get into the 4 possible lineups. First of all, we're going to go with this one, with Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Udogie left back, Emerson and Davis as the centre-back positions. Bentancur making a return as the number 6, along with Pape Matar, Giovanni Lo Celso, Brennan on the left, Kulusevski on the right, with Heung-min Son up top. So what are your comments on this lineup?
This one's a bit more out there. I would say fairly unlikely to happen on Sunday. But what I would say is Bentancur played the number 6 for Uruguay during the international play, played 86 minutes and had a really good game and looked really good in that position. Obviously, there'll be no Basuma for the Villa game. Emerson coming in for Eric Dyer maybe adds a bit more pace to that back line, because if you look at Davis and Dyer, all of a sudden, with players like Diaby and Watkins up front, you'll be struggling with those 2 at the back, basically. So he adds a bit more pace, a bit of recovery pace as well. Lo Celso and Bentancur in the midfield add a bit more technical ability, maybe ability to play through Aston Villa on the ball. The front 3 obviously stays the same, but obviously this would leave out Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who has been a pick for Ange when Basuma's been missing in that position. So I would consider this one a bit unlikely to be picked, but it would be one I wouldn't mind, to be honest. I would quite like to see that one. Yeah,
I look at that lineup quite positively, to be honest. Obviously, it leaves us very short at the back with 2 players playing out of position, coming into centre-back positions. With Davis has done that role before. I'm not sure if Emerson has ever started a game in a back 4 as a centre-back before. But I think, like, with the look, Van de Ven and Romero are out, so we're limited with options there. So you're either looking at Emerson or Ashley Phillips or Dyer in that position. But with the options that we have available to us, I think that's a pretty good one to go for, especially the midfield. I really like the midfield, looking at Bentancur as the 6, Sarr as the engine, and Lo Celso with a bit of creativity. And it gives us, all 3 of those players have in their own right can create. Maybe Sarr the least out of the 3, but Bentancur can definitely play that number 6. I've been consistent in saying that throughout. I really think he can thrive in that position. And Giovanni Lo Celso had a really strong showing for Argentina as well during midweek. So I think that's the midfield I would like to see. That's the front line I would like to see. I'm just unsure about the centre-back pairing, to be honest. Would I like to see Phillips come in? I think Davis should probably start on the left, because he had a good showing there against Wolves, so there's no real reason to take him out. It's just the right centre-back. I'm just not sure which one to go for.
There are not too many good options, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
There are no real good options. It's kind of pick your poison kind of thing for the right centre-back role. So this one's Emerson. The only other reservation I might have about this lineup is, I know Bentancur played in the 6 for Uruguay and he was brilliant, but Villa is a very different proposition to Uruguay.
To Bolivia.
Villa's a very different, to Bolivia, sorry. So whether you want Bentancur to be the protection in this kind of game, in a Premier League game when he's still getting back to full fitness, I guess there's a question mark about that. Maybe in the 8, he has a bit less defensive burden than being in the 6, but the way he played, he was definitely looking sharp. So that's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if he hadn't had this injury, and I wouldn't have any reservations about that whatsoever, because I think he can do it, and I think he's shown that he can do it before, be very solid in that middle of the park. Yeah, there is a bit of reservation because he's coming back from that injury, but he has had minutes, 2 sub appearances for Spurs now, 86 minutes for Uruguay. He seems to have thought he's been back to full fitness for a while now. So I don't see a problem with sticking him in there, to be honest. I really don't. Let's move on to the second lineup and see where we go with that one. This is obviously Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Udogie left back. This is Dyer and Davis in the centre-back positions, the pairing that we did see at Wolves. Højbjerg in the 6, Kulusevski in the 10 with Sarr in the 8, Hill on the left, Johnson on the right, Sonny up top. I actually think I don't think this is I think it's likely in terms of the back line. I think that's probably what we're going to see this weekend. I probably think Højbjerg and Sarr will probably both play, but I think Johnson will be on the left. Kulusevski, I can't see him moving Kulusevski into the 10, to be honest.
Yeah, this is obviously a lineup or a position change that a lot of people have been calling for. Try Kulusevski in the 10. That would mean putting Bryan Gil in the front line. If I seem to remember, Bryan Gil got one of his very few starts last season at home to Aston Villa in a game that we lost 2-0. And he looked fairly bright without really doing much in the end. Obviously, Højbjerg has been the player that Ange has chosen in the 6 when Basuma has been either out or when he's come up, when he's been subbed. Højbjerg has come in the number 6 position. So, and also it would be the first time maybe we've seen, not the first time, but the first time maybe Johnson gets a start on the right-hand side. I think maybe that's his more natural position, or where he's played most of his career, I should say, albeit he's looked pretty good on the left-hand side for Spurs. So I think on paper, the lineup doesn't look terrible. I think adds a bit of attacking flair in the centre of midfield, which we were definitely missing against Wolves, which we needed. But the only problem I just see is a lack of pace in defence, which is in centre back anyway, which is obviously a big issue. Which not sure how you resolve that. And then in midfield, it's good, but I just feel like, would they lose the ball too much? Those midfield, are they good at protecting it in the centre? I know Kulusevski's very good at it, but just one out of the 3. I don't know. I don't know whether and whether you add Hill in there as well, who I assume is probably going to lose the ball quite a bit.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, as opposed to the last game against Wolves, right? We had Emerson at left back. Now we're going to have Destiny, and him inverting is going to very much help us keep that ball.
Yeah, that's also true. So that would definitely help with it. So I think, just looking at it though, that lineup, I feel like it probably isn't the lineup to go with. I probably wouldn't go with it. But I can see the benefits of having some players in different positions. But I feel like Gil and Johnson will both lose the ball too much.
I think Hill needs to earn his spot, to be honest, before being chucked straight into the lineup. He needs to make impacts off the bench, in my opinion, because I don't think he's done that as of yet with, I think, 2 cameo appearances he's had so far, both pretty much flattering to deceive. So I'd like to see Bryan Gil really earn his spot from the bench before he gets that nod to start.
And it might be a bit too much change. You know, Johnson's changing position, Hill's coming in, Kulusevski's changing position. So whether that would lead to a disjointed performance.
Yeah. And I'm a believer of Bryan Gil as well. I really think he's got great attributes, but I don't think he's done enough to earn that starting spot just yet. But let's go on to the third lineup. What have we got here? We've got Vicario in goal, Pedro Porro right back, Destiny Udogie left back, Ashley Phillips, who actually went off injured, or he pulled out of England under 19s through injury, but apparently it was just a precaution. Ben Davis on the left-hand side of the centre-back positions, Højbjerg, Bentancur, Lo Celso, Kulusevski, Johnson and Son. The only reason I don't see this one happening, well, 2 reasons. First of all, I don't know about Ashley Phillips. I mean, I'd like to see him start. I really would, because I think he gives us pace in that back line, and obviously he's been playing really well for the England under-19s and the under-23s, and maybe he deserves it in start of the defenders who have just been terrible for us over the last year or so, pretty much dire. And I do see Pape Matar Sarr for sure starting this game, so I don't know. I don't think this one's a goer.
Yeah, this might be my favourite one, though, in terms of what it gives us, because I think it gives us a good profile at centre-back, someone who's tall, who's fast. Obviously, he would need some help because it will be his debut, and he'll be facing some really good attackers. But if he can kind of be managed through the game with help from Davis and Vicario, and then I've looked at that midfield, I think there's really good technical ability. They're all very strong as well. Obviously, they're senior players. Obviously, it does mean dropping Sarr, which would be really unfortunate for him. He's been playing well. But I look at that midfield, and I think I'd love to see Bentancur and Lo Celso in the 8s with their technical ability, of Højbjerg just supporting them in the number 6. And obviously, the front 3 would be the normal front 3. In terms of a lineup, though, I do really like the look of it. I do really like the look of that lineup. Whether maybe you would switch Bentancur and Højbjerg, potentially put Bentancur on the 6 and Højbjerg in the 8, or you keep. I think Ange would probably keep it like that. I would assume Højbjerg in the 6 and Bentancur in the 8. I kind of would be very excited about the prospect of that midfield, albeit I really like Sarr, but that midfield does definitely excite me.
Look, I'm happy with it. It doesn't excite me the way it excites you. I like Højbjerg, but I just feel like losing Pape Matar Sarr out of the team, that we're going to lose a lot of maybe the engine room in the team, and as well he does a lot of work helping Pedro Porro out at that right back position. So for me, I would like to see that team, but maybe Højbjerg dropped out of it, Bentancur dropped to the number 6, and Sarr moved into the midfield. That's the team I'd probably like to see.
I wouldn't be too worried about losing the legs, because I think Højbjerg and Bentancur have more than enough running between them two. I mean, at times last season, they were playing in a 2 in the middle, and I know like a lot of the times last season it didn't go too well, but them two specifically had really good seasons together, and they can cover a lot of ground. Plus, you're adding Lo Celso into that as well. Plus, you're adding Porro and Udogie. I think in terms of having the legs in midfield, I wouldn't worry about that too much. So as much as I think we do miss stuff having Sarr, I think Højbjerg and Bentancur together, we've seen what they can do. So I'll be very excited about it.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. We have seen what they can do, but I'm just like looking at what Højbjerg's offered us this season, which has been good, no doubt about it in certain games. But I think Pape Matar Sarr has just been so much better, so consistent, literally never stops running, and he's got quality as well. I'm not saying Højbjerg doesn't, but I think just Sarr's been that much better.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
So that's that lineup, and let's move on to the last lineup, the fourth possible lineup, and that is Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Udogie left back, Dyer and Davis in the centre back positions, Højbjerg, Sarr, Bentancur midfield, Johnson, Kulusevski and Son. And this is probably the most likely lineup.
Yeah, this is the one I envisage we probably will go with. Obviously, we're going to wait till Ange's press conference to do the predicted lineup. But if I was to predict now what he's probably going to play, I'm assuming it's going to be this, just because past few games, when he's looked to bring on a sub, he has looked to Bentancur usually before Lo Celso. Lo Celso is usually being behind him. Obviously, Sarr I don't think should be dropped. Højbjerg usually goes in that number 6 position when Basuma's out. I think the front three speaks for itself. And then I think Dyer and Davis, both, to be fair to them, I don't think Dyer obviously Davis had a great game. I don't think Dyer before the 90th minute you would have said had a shocker. Obviously but then what happened in the 90th minute is he didn't do great in that spell. But I don't think Ange will judge him harshly, maybe based on that. So I think he's likely to keep his spot. Plus as well, you add in the fact against Chelsea he did okay as well. So if I'm thinking about where Ange's head is at, putting Bentancur into that midfield as well hopefully adds a bit more technical ability, a bit more someone who can drive into space, which maybe we didn't have. Against Wolves we had Basuma, but he wasn't kind of on his game. Maybe having Bentancur there, showing what he showed against Bolivia, adds a bit of that drive into midfield. So and we saw what Bielsa said, didn't we? He said Bentancur is one of the very few midfielders who can be a defensive midfielder and he can attack like an attacking midfielder. So maybe Ange would feel the same way and wouldn't have any reservations about putting Bentancur in maybe the most advanced 8. Albeit against Wolves, I believe most of the time it was Sarr in that position in the more advanced 8. But it would be interesting to see what he would do if he would partner Bentancur with him.
I think what's good about the kind of midfield options, I think like it could be so fluid where each and every one of those midfielders can take different turns of doing different roles in certain games, which will give a lot of unpredictability to our play in the midfield, which is good. And that shows as well with the 4 lineups that we've picked here. We've picked Bentancur in 3 different roles in the 6, the 8 and the 10. So I think that shows to where our head's at with Bentancur, and we think that, he can play in each and every one of those roles. I think probably out of the 3 roles, I would say the number 10 is probably his weakest one out of the 3. But I don't think he's going to be bad at it whatsoever, and it might be the best option to go for. But I would like to see Lo Celso being given the go on the back of his good performance for Argentina, and with the January transfer window coming up, and Maddison should be back after that or during the transfer window. I think it's only right to give Lo Celso the chance to get that spot. To be honest, so
I have a feeling though. It's Lo Celso or Bentancur. I have a feeling that's the case.
You reckon?
I hope not, but I just have a feeling it is, because I feel like Højbjerg and Sarr will both start. Because I think he's going to go Højbjerg in the 6. I think there's no real reason to drop Sarr, so I feel like he's going to go one or the other.
I kind of agree, but the reason I agree is because I just think that lineup, the 4th lineup that we just showed, I think that is going to be the lineup for this weekend, whether you like it or not. Eric Dyer. As much as we criticize him, and I do think it's dangerous playing Eric Dyer against like a Moussa Diaby and Ollie Watkins and these kind of players, pacey players. I just think like he's going to go with the tried and tested method instead of like just throwing an 18-year-old into the deep end again in a very hard game.
I agree with you. I think if you're asking me what I would like to see, I think I would probably go for 3, even though it means dropping Sal, which would be harsh, but I would really like to see what a midfield 3 of Bentancur, Højbjerg, and Lo Celso can do. That midfield does excite me. I would probably put Bentancur in the 6. Because I think he's the one who can maybe do Bissouma's role much better than Højbjerg can. And then obviously you've got Lo Celso and Højbjerg there in the number 8 positions. And then obviously you've got Phillips there in centre-back as well, even though it's a bit of a risk, but I would like to see what he can do in this game. So if you're asking me what I would choose, I probably would go with 3, but if I do think he's probably going to go with number 4.
So 3 had what? Lo Celso, Bentancur, Højbjerg, yeah.
Yeah, and then Phillips at centre-back.
I don't see a reason why to drop Sarr out of this team. I just don't see a reason for it.
There's no reason to do it. I just think the midfield 3 of Højbjerg, Bentancur, and Lo Celso just has a bit more on the ball, and that's why it just excites me a bit more than have. Not to say Sarr's bad. He's obviously brilliant. I just think that midfield 3 could cover what Sarr gives us off the ball, but with a bit more on the ball as well potentially. That's what I would say.
For me, look, I've said what midfield I want to see. I want to see Bentancur, Sarr, Lo Celso in the midfield. I want to see Kulu on the right, Brennan on the left, Son up top, Porro, Udogie at the fullbacks, Vicario in goal. And the centre-back positions, I don't know. It's a really hard one. Do you go for tried and tested? Do you go for throwing someone into the deep end, an 18-year-old kid? I think I would.
We've been chucking people in the deep end all season, haven't we?
Yeah, it's true. So... but not an 18-year-old kid at centre-back.
No, not an 18-year-old.
So I think I would just about side with Ashley Phillips and Davis at the back, but I could understand if he does go for Dyer or Emerson in that position. I think I would actually prefer probably Emerson over Dyer at the right centre-back position, just to give us a bit more pace and strength.
I think you're right, actually. I'd probably prefer Sarr over Højbjerg and put Bentancur on the 6. That would be the midfield I want. So that might be number 1. That would be the first lineup.
Yeah. With the same defence.
It would be Emerson right centre back, Bentancur, Sarr, Lo Celso.
That's the lineup. Out of these lineups,
I think
only these lineup. That's the lineup I would go for.
Yeah, I think number 1 actually. That would be the one I'd go for. Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, we agree. But do you agree out there? Let us know in the comment section below which of these possible lineups would you go for. If you don't want to see any of these lineups, let me know which lineup you would go for in the comment section below. But thank you everyone for watching today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.